This short segment here will help you understand the components of the human nervous system as well as the basic structure of a neuron. So a human nervous system will comprise the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord that originates from the brain and travels downwards vertically. Whereas the peripheral nervous system is the nerves that actually comes out from the central nervous system. So nerves actually can branch out from the brains near the neck and the head area, and nerves can also branch out from the spinal cord. Nerves that branch out of the spinal cord, we call them the spinal nerves, while nerves that branch out from the brain, we call them the cranial nerves. So the peripheral nervous system will comprise the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. So nervous tissue actually are comprising of nerve cells, and nerve cells are known as neurons. You're going to learn 3 different types of neurons, and they differ in terms of their structure as well as their function. So the 3 types of neurons you will learn are sensory neurons, motor neurons, and relay neurons. You can call them intermediate neurons as well. I will just run through to you how every single neuron looks like. So most neuron, or rather all the neuron that you're going to learn, will have a cell body, an axon, and a dendron, but they differ in the length of each of these parts. So what you're seeing here is actually a sensory neuron, which is one of the 3 kinds of neuron, and I'll use this picture to explain the different functions of each part of the neuron. So essentially a neuron is a nerve cell. So what you're seeing here is actually a single nerve cell. Nerve impulse will be transmitted from the receptor. So an example of a receptor might be your hand, right? Maybe the touch receptors on your hand. Okay, I don't have my pen with me, so I'm using my mouse to write, so it's a little bit ugly, just bear with it. So your hands have got various touch receptors, and when you actually touch something, a nervous impulse is being generated, and the direction of nerve impulse will be from your left to your right, and over here it will actually reach the central nervous system. This whole area belongs to the peripheral nervous system. Alright, you will understand more of this as we go along in the next few slides. Now I'm just going to explain to you the definitions of each of these. Alright, so a receptor is basically a structure that actually senses something. So it senses touch, it senses heat, it senses changes in temperature. What does a dendron do? Right? So what the dendron is actually defined as a part of the neuron that transmits nerve impulses towards the cell body. You can see that the dendron happens first before the cell body. So actually, dendron is defined as the part of the neuron that transmits impulses towards the cell body, while the axon is whatever happens after the cell body. So the axon will transmit impulses away from the cell body. Alright, so these are essentially the 2 definitions that you need to know, the differences between the dendron and the axon. Alright, so after the axon, we reach these branches again. So these branches here, each of these will be known as an axon terminal. Alright, these are axon terminals because they terminate. This is the point where the neuron terminates, and it will meet other neurons to transmit the nerve impulse. Now, what does the cell body do? The cell body, just like any other animal cell, has got a nucleus and a cytoplasm, and it controls the function of this cell. So if you should know by now that this is an animal cell, and it's a cell that is specialized for its function. So it doesn't look like a typical animal cell, but it's actually modified, specialized cell. So a nerve cell is a specialized cell.